Hey, what is up? What is up? Good morning to you guys. Obviously, this is episode 4 of the lies, the secrets and the lies of Syndicate Empire Radio. This is episode 4. So this morning, I'm not going to do a little fancy background music, none of the good fun stuff. No, I'm actually just going to get straight to it. So today's episode, being episode 4, is going to be about Dominic Garcia. But before I do, let me go ahead and get this part off. Thank you again. Shout out to the city of Philadelphia for allowing me to do this. And shout out to SEPTA. If you have issues with your car and you're in the Philadelphia area, please do not hesitate to get on SEPTA. These guys are generous enough. They will help you. It's a cheaper price. And of course, back home, thanks to RTD. RTD was the biggest thing. I don't know if you guys know about it, but out west, just like SEPTA, RTD is a big thing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get straight to this. And by the way, I am both live on Facebook and YouTube on our brand channel. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty, to the meat and potatoes of this whole entire thing. So back when I was working at Syndicate Empire Radio, or interning, so to speak, right? There's a gentleman, his name is Dominic Garcia. Dominic is supposed to be the lead of this whole entire operation. Except for the fact that he had, a couple backers, one gentleman who loves to sit down and drink a lot. He's a white individual. I don't know his name entirely, nor do I care to know his name. To give a name is to give it power sometimes, and Dominic Garcia was the only person who is supposed to be responsible for the individuals at Syndicate Empire Radio. That is a huge thing, and I believe in the fact that, if you do things right, and your leaders are supposed to be the ones that are supposed to be taking care of the situations, why weren't they taking care of them? Well, it falls back on the individual who runs and operates that outfit. Needless to say, what actually caught me on to Dominic in the first place. Now, mind you, everybody knows out here, if you've been following me for a little bit, or if you've been listening to me, if you've been friends with me, you guys know that I did some prison time back home in Colorado. And during that time, I ended up meeting an individual by the name of Dominic Garcia. Dominic and me, we were in prison together over at Buena Vista Correctional Facility, which is out there in Buena Vista, Colorado. It's a little mountain town out there. Colorado, they have this idea that instead of building prisons in populated areas, they're going to do it in less populated, so that way the thought process of running or escaping would be slim to none. So just like them, I'm building this entire episode on the fact of slim to none mentality. Meaning, number one, let's get into what about Dominic Garcia that makes people cringe the most. So, there was a point in time when I held by the same code that everybody else does. You only talk about certain instances if they affect you. Well, in this case, this whole entire situation affected me, okay? And when I mean affected me, I mean Dominic Garcia had this grand old plan that if, for whatever reason, something was to happen and somebody was to escape their little protocol system by their whole little non-disclosure agreements, that they can never come back into the state, they can never do this, they can never do that. Well, how I'm piecing these things together, and the reason why initially I was going to move forward past this whole entire episode series was because of the fact that, it was time to move forward. However, recent circumstances has actually forced this type of a situation to come to head and to come to light. So, basically, being out here in Philadelphia is actually, it's a wonderful city, right? But there was a lot of remembrances from back in the day, things that, that I used to do that, I could have got caught up on, but I quit doing because of the simple fact that I knew that it was going to get me into trouble. What I mean by that is that there's multiple ways that some people use to get into the entertainment industry. Some of those include stealing. Some of those include stealing from stores, more specifically, to feed their habits. The other ways that some of them do is kind of like drinking and drug addict stuff, selling these things off to individuals. Now, some companies, some platforms might want to try to censor this information. I'm not censoring it only because of the simple fact, because it is what it is. Basically, I come out here to kind of spread awareness about it, first off, and second off, to bring this type of a situation to light. So I want to say about a week ago, there was a bust nationwide about, these drug cartel individuals. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad, okay? I mean, yes, they're poisoning people and things like that. I can understand it. However, their kind of kingpins and how they were caught up with all these snakes in cages, which got me into thinking about, when I was over at Syndicate Empire Radio, how many snakes were in these cages, man. I want to say there was at least 50 of them, and they were talking about breeding these things, in order to, get money and be able to stay afloat in business if certain things were to come to light, like they are right now. So, needless to say, when I met Dominic was one of these people. He was really kind of soft-spoken, really quiet type of individuals. Now, granted, at the time, I didn't think nothing of it, okay? While we were in prison, I got to see a lot of things, and I never talked about a lot of these issues. Okay, one of which is where, when they were behind closed doors, some of these main gang member affiliated people would run around behind closed doors. They would be doing certain things in a very sexual light towards other male inmates, and they were doing this, and I'm not saying they're wrong, okay? They were doing this because this is how they felt was a better way to, be comfortable with themselves. But see, here's the problem, right? They would go to visits with their wives, their girlfriends, and they would act like they were totally straight, and there was never a problem, And I'm not saying that they were in the wrong. What I'm saying is that these individuals were doing these things behind closed doors. And it's funny how, things go kind of full circle. And I had an ex of mine at one point in time who did the same thing. He had a wife, he had a kid, he had this whole entire thing mapped out that, I could be a part of their whole little entire, what do they call that? Menage, whatever you want to call it, okay? Point is that it was a polyamorous relationship, and it was something that me personally at that time, I knew that I was way better than that, and that I would never put myself in a situation that would continue to go down that road, because I thought that, number one, that I'm not here to compete with anybody. I don't care if it's a female. I don't care if it's a male. I know for a fact that what my worth is, and as most people should. And for those that don't, and live that lifestyle, that's fine. However, I'm going to say it like this. Number one, 99.9% of all polyamorous relationships never last. And the reason why is because communication, for one, and for two, they do it behind lust, they do it behind greed, they do it behind everything else than just to be in a committed relationship, or maybe it was an issue that they had for themselves that they didn't know how to bring across. Now, I'm not saying that some relationships need some kind of an encouragement, which I can understand. Okay, being in the middle of a couple of those situations, I get it. But the thing is that there are definitely boundary lines that are always crossed during that limitation, during those circumstances. So, how does this tie into Syndicate? Well, Syndicate Empire Radio has this uncanny ability to torture people psychologically when they're not fitting their little protocol or their program. And how they do this is that they bring on a whole bunch of people. They try to say that they're cleaning house by kicking people out and causing all kind of a ruckus. What they don't realize, right, is that Dominic Garcia was one of those individuals that I met in prison that was doing these types of polyamorous situations. And I held my tongue for quite long enough. The thing is that when I first went down there to Syndicate Empire Radio and watching these shows go on, especially the shows about psychedelic mushroom use or psilocybin, as some people call it, saying that, it's okay and appropriate usage, da, da, da. One thing that really kind of deterred me and really kind of threw it out there publicly for me is when you're allowing a show to go on when you know that individual was on a show that is supposed to be helping people, but yet it hurts them. It hurts them to a really dangerous point. To the point where, number one, they either A, feel like it was causing them to be unalived, which is, this is one of those words that I will use, or two, they were using the situation as just comedy. Now, here's the thing. The minute that you use somebody else's pain, their tragedy, their feelings in their life and their fears, which is false evidence appearing real, when they start using those things to make a comedy, make a show out of it, that's when it becomes a problem. So me personally, this show and a couple of the other ones are really educational. They're designed, my shows are designed to out these problems, because me personally, I think that everybody has an opportunity in their life to be who they are, to go through what they go through, and not because of their fears or because of something that went on in their past or whatever, and to make them a laughing stock in front of the entire world. I think that type of behavior is grotesque, and not only is it grotesque, I think that it is very narcissistic in its making. We'll just put it like that. So, when I was a part of these shows, I sat back. Now, mind you, at first, I thought this was supposed to be something that was therapeutic to help people. Instead, it wasn't helping anybody. It was just causing a comedic value. And I think that is the main determination with some of these shows, is that with them, it's all about how we can cause somebody else to be afraid or be scared and put them in that mind frame or that mind state, so that way we can get shows out of this, we can get a rise out of it. And me personally, I think that's like the wrong thing to do. Granted, I mean, yes, I understand that, horror movies and things like that, they do sell. I love some of these horror movies. I love Chucky, man. Chucky was one of my favorite movies. However, something that I've learned over time is that there are better ways and better alternatives to fix these things, instead of just showing out for the public and causing fear and chaos and problems for the individuals involved. They base this whole entire idea, if we scare people back into sobriety, that this would be the best way to do it. Number one, it's not fun to scare anybody, especially to that extreme, to the point where you could cause a accidental unaliving, regardless of the situation. Number two, I think that our society as a whole, we've come desensitized to a lot of things because of what we put out there in the news and media. And to be honest with you, what Dominic did, granted, his idea of scaring people is one thing. Okay, granted, it's a decent plan only because it works to a small percentage, very small, maybe 2, maybe 3% of our population. But what actually helps people get sober, help get clean, help get off of these narcotics and any illegal substances is not about fear. What gets them off of the narcotics is actually having something that they can wholesomely love within themselves first, and then be able to project across to the world, which is part of the reason why my company, Lulu Dream Entertainment, or excuse me, our company, Lulu Dream Entertainment, let me rephrase that for Jonathan. So Jonathan is a co-owner to our company, and Jonathan is an amazing person. He went through a lot of problems, and he still goes through these every single day. But the thing that I want to point out the most here is that if you, number one, find a way to get past those circumstances that put you in that spot where you felt that your heart space was not in the best circumstances, then you can move forward and find new light, a new opportunity, a new position in life. And when you love yourself more than you love the legal substances, or for that matter, the tragic stuff that was going on in the first place, you get out of the loop of that pattern. And once you can actually step outside that secondary loop is when you actually have control and power over any and everything in your life. And I say that to the individuals that are out there right now that are currently on substances. And I'm not talking about like nicotine or caffeine. I'm talking about those illegal substances like methamphetamines, psilocybin, because these other things, they are addictive. Okay, I mean, everything in this planet is considered addictive. I mean, you got social media addiction, you got alcohol addiction, you've got all these things, right? Now, mind you, I know that there's going to be a lot of flack behind this part of it, which I can understand, and then I'll take it. Okay, but at the same time, too, how to stop somebody's addiction or how to help them stop being addicted to the substances isn't scaring them. What you actually need to do is be able to give them opportunities in life that make them happy with themselves to be able to progress through in life. So that way they don't make those same mistakes, they don't make the same issues again, and they're not looping in that same type of mentality. Because what happens in the end is when you take that fear factor from them and you yank it, what actually ends up happening is you get a better feedback and a long-term and a long-lasting ability to give sobriety to the next generation and generations to come after that. Now, I do have somebody I know that's in my family who is younger, and he has social anxiety, which I can understand. You know, we all have this. Me personally, I went through a part of this because I felt at that time that, oh no, just people just need to get out of their comfort zone, which is true. But I mean, yes, it's a real fear factor of knowing that you can do stuff like this, you know, live streaming across the country and across the world, and be okay with this part of it, but not be okay in public. And it's okay to not be okay. I'm going to say this very clearly again. It is okay to not be okay. However, it is not okay to utilize somebody's fear against them in that. So I say that to say this, right? Number one, yes, I'm outspoken about a lot of different things, especially when it comes to sobriety, when it comes to taking an opportunity to better yourself. I wish that a lot more people took that time to sit back, take an hour a day, read, take an hour a day, and go take a walk in the park somewhere. Take an hour a day, go biking, hiking, whatever. And those things, it helps you. It's more holistic. It's more of a holistic approach to sobriety than some of the other mainstream companies have in mind. I'll put it like this. Dominic kind of put that whole entire fear program into the making because he felt that he would get the most money out of it. And to be honest with you, part of it, yeah, he can get some money out of it. Some of his supporters are good. But what I'm going to say is like this. Number one, if you're using your platforms just to scare people into doing stuff, it's not an okay thing. Because you're going to get people that do feed off of that fear, and you're going to make them mentally unstable from doing it. Number two, putting other people above yourself and your own sobriety, it should never happen that way. So, needless to say, when Dominic figured out that I'm what they call a mirror, which is basically I take and I soak in, I'm a sponge. You know, I see how things sometimes operate, and I'll soak that in, and I'll see the good and the bad and the ugly of those situations, and I'll find a better path forward to help other people. Now, there are other companies out there like Silver Lining in Colorado Springs. Now, shout out to you guys out there. One of the other guys that I did prison time with, he is actually one of their counselors out there. And another location in Denver, these individuals, they help build against the criminological behaviors of past criminals, past enterprises, things like that. And they help better society. Now, there was a point in time, and I still am kind of outspoken against some of these organizations because I feel that there is more of a opportunity for them to build off of it. However, me personally, like sitting back here to be able to share my stories with you guys, to be able to openly express how I feel about these situations, it's a godsend. It helps people build their own not so much limited platforms so they can actually do things for themselves, for number one. But for number two, it also helps give them character. Now, what I'm saying to Dominic directly, and I know you're out there watching it. If you're not watching, you'll watch this later, and that's fine. That's cool. Just understand that, number one, I don't hate you. I don't disrespect you. I don't thrive off your fear. What I'm going to tell you is this, is number one, trying to put me in situations where I fear for my life and my safety, of course, I'm going to speak up against it. Number two, I'm not going to apologize to you. What I said is correct. Everything that I've ever said on any of my platforms about you, about your fake company, and about the things that you do is incorrect. And I'm going to stand against anybody who goes with that grain. To be honest with you, imagine if your child, okay, and there's a lot of people out there, including those that are into these illegal substances and things like that, and they allow their children to go through this part just for the sake of some laughs, to make it filler of time. I think there is a big saying that is, you do unto others as they do unto you. Now, that doesn't mean you go an eye for them. Me personally, the reason I started believing in that is because of the fact of what has been going on behind the scenes. Now, mind you, I'll talk all day long about the past and the things that I went through in the past, but I rarely get to the bottom and the nitty gritty of the things that have been going on out here, which I do for a reason. Because personally, as an individual in life, okay, once you realize that the wheels of motion were put into place by individuals that are in your past to start a journey to push you through these types of situations intentionally, you can pinpoint exactly who said what, why they said what they said, and how to deter other people from going through the same cycles. And of course, the same problems. Now, me personally, I feel that our country is riddled with a lot of individuals out that are utilizing that fear factor to create problems, create chaos, to be able to steal stuff from other people, to be able to run rampant and do the things that whatever they want to do. My shows are not designed for this reason. My shows and the purpose behind Lulu Dream Entertainment Radio was actually to stop these type of things to happen. So that way there would be no problem. So give somebody else to think about the solutions to their problems. Because to be honest with you, if I can relate my past and my present together by some of these people from the past, anybody can do this. Just saying. And I think that we live in a world today where our children and our societies, they're not taking that opportunity to sit back and do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of realization. So there is a huge processing theory when it talks about people that are musicians or artists or creators, for that matter, that go out of their way to take that time to be able to create something with benefit, to be able to help benefit society. So I say all that to say this, right? Since they have these ways of doing this and be able to sit back and to communicate and be able to do all these things in their fashion, some people they draw, some people they write, some people they use it for more of a protective form, kind of like I am. Then there's people out there that are doing it to intentionally find ways to harm people, to damage our youth, damage our images in society. And that includes like little programmers like playing around with tarot cards, things like that online, who have no idea of the impact of what they hold to our society. Now, I'm not knocking one religion or another. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking how people do what they do. I'm going to say it like this. Number one, I believe in God, the Father, God, the Son, God, the Holy Spirit. Okay? I'm a Christian. I believe in this wholeheartedly. I went on a long soul-searching journey some years back and finding different aspects of the different religions, anywhere between Taoism to Satanism to being able to be a pagan, things like that, right? And a lot of these different religions and different aspects of those religions have actually showed me that there is benefits and negatives to each. However, what I'm going to say it like this, right? When I had an individual come up and approach me who, I'm going to keep nameless, but we had a conversation, and every time we have a conversation, it's always a theoretical argument, okay? Or in his mind, it's a debate. But I'm going to put it like this. Number one, we all have facets in our life, and we all believe that our religion is the good religion or the best one for our families, our traditions, our this, our that. And that's okay. All right? That is perfectly okay. I'm not saying that one person is right or wrong. What I'm going to say to you is this: piecing everything together in order to be a happy collective type of people in society, in order to stop the traumatic events that cause other people, has no bearing on religion. Yes, there is a part in the Bible that talks about sparing the rod, spoil the child type of mentality. And this is in multiple different religious groups that believe in this. However, what I'm going to say is this quite plainly. Number one, if you use fear to control somebody else, you're going to be in the wrong, because it's going to put you in wrong situations all the time. So I'm a firm believer in that the stories that were made by God because of these individuals that were out there, like Moses, like Abraham, like Isaac, these figures were designed to help you learn the steps and pathways in life that you can actually utilize and see where they went wrong, so that way you didn't have to continue to go down that pathway. Now, that's something that I know is not going to catch a lot of flack back, because I believe wholeheartedly that as a human being across this world, regardless of skin tone, regardless of background, regardless of religious affiliation, we all have that one thing in common. Number one, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. Regardless of what mistake we make, is going to curtail how we're able to get back up and be resilient enough in our human likeness to be able to continue to move forward. Now, that thought process that I just pushed out there, that's more of a Taoist idea and principle, but I'll say it like this. Me personally speaking, I think that when I went through what I went through and the troubles I caused at certain points in time of my life, I believe that it doesn't give you that cause and effect balance where somebody has to be the person to affect a change in your life. I think, in all honesty, I think we all need to start focusing on ways that we can better ourselves and how not to put ourselves back in those situations, and humiliating people, putting people under fire, under the gun, or causing somebody to be fearful of in these situations isn't what causes people to form or conform back into society. What it does is it actually causes more of a rift, and it causes a dangerous breakage between us and the justice system as a whole. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack back from that, but hey, I'm just being honest and being real about it. So, how does this relate into my whole little episode series of this? Well, number one, when you get somebody that like Dominic who is utilizing these type of criminological thought patterns to push out a humiliation ritual per se, to be able to humiliate somebody on live air or to be able to do it out there in public, they're doing it so that way they can deflect what they're negatively doing behind closed doors in order for them to become looking like the victor, like, see, I told you that person was this, I told you that person was that, when in all actuality it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to deal with that individual covering up his tracks for his wrongdoings. And to be quite honest, the more and more you become less accountable, the more and more you're allowing these things to occur. And personally speaking, I feel that as a society as a whole, we need to be able to change that type of faction or that idea and mindset behind it. So how do we do this? Well, me personally, how I learned how to do this was, believe it or not, there is a book out there and it talks about the 7 habits of highly effective people. That's one of the classes that while I was incarcerated that actually helped me get through that process. The other part of that is actually learning from the mistakes that I made and being able to move forward in society without making the same problems happen again and again and again and again. See, a lot of people, they prey off of that type of negative cycle so that way their stories don't come out, so that way their stories are not heard. So how do we defame the individuals that are trying to catch fame off of deflecting somebody else's behaviors? Well, number one, you call it out. Number two, you call out your own behaviors that you were in the wrong for, which, as you've seen on my platform, I'm an open book on this, about myself, about my past, things that I went through my eyes. Whether it was right in the eyes of society or not, that's totally up to y'all. I'm just saying. Me personally speaking, I feel that we as a society or as a whole, we need to actually step forward in that movement of not only just holding ourselves accountable first, but holding the individuals that did that part wrong as well accountable by utilizing the justice system in the way it's supposed to be used, not by faking a pregnancy or going behind doors and saying that, just because you did something wrong, that so-and-so did something illegal to me this way or the other. So when I hold somebody accountable, I call them out by name. Just saying. Does that make me wrong? No. As a matter of fact, that's something that we all should start humanizing in such a better fashion. Now, I know it seems like a massive contradiction to how I've been as a person in my life previously, and that's okay. I've spoken up on a lot of different topics out here, including things that in my past that I felt that were wrong. Now, dangerously speaking, there are people out here right now that feel that those like me who had criminal history should never be allowed to go through and have their own platforms and should have followers and should be able to make money off of new endeavors, new things. Well, I'm sorry. It's going to happen. We live in an age where once we get past and served our time and done our time, it's done. You have to be able to allow the individuals that have done their time to be able to move forward. Now, me personally, what happened with me is what happened with me. I can't change what happened. All I can do is change my reactions and my actions for future endeavors and future issues. Just like when you get into a relationship and your partner catches you cheating on him or her. Okay. And when you catch this cheater, all you can really do is just apologize and find a better way to move forward in life without doing it. Me personally, I've done this. I've gone through some pretty major issues in my time and some pretty major relationships in my time where the only way that you can actually stop yourself from doing it is just to stop, hold yourself accountable, find a way to move through it. And if they choose to accept an apology, then they choose to. If not, that's okay. You can find other people out there in life. There's millions of people in this world. And me personally, I feel that we make time to entitle ourselves so much to the point where we have to pinpoint somebody else's wrongs, or we have to cyber stalk or cyber bully somebody into submission, which is what happened to me. And quite frankly, I have some screenshots and things like that I've shared in the public previously of this actually happening. And what's funny is that they use this type of a system to try to force somebody into making huge contradictions to the point where nobody listens to them, nobody cares, nobody, But in essence, all it really does is make that individual want to come out and be more outspoken and be an advocate to change some of these things so it doesn't happen again. So, say that to say this, right? People want me to talk about this on certain shows, that on certain shows, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I could talk for years and allow my personal experiences to come to light. But why do that by myself? I mean, heck, I've already called out to these individuals. All they had to do was reach out to me. I've unblocked them a long time ago. But see, here's the thing about communication. When people are silent after they have done you wrong, well, that goes to show you, especially when you're willing to forgive and move forward through your life and allow them to share a piece of the pot, so to speak. When they don't reach out, that means that they continue to do wrong things and they don't like being called out and being held accountable. So me personally, you want to show love to somebody? Tell them. Call them out by name. Quit playing around and causing a fear factor. Quit trying to make an individual do things that they don't want to do or haven't done in years. Don't put them in susceptible circumstances to where those things, those patterns, those cycles repeat. No, what you do is you sit them down, you have a conversation, and you ask them about it, and you talk to them about it, and you hold them accountable. Now, I will give one individual, just one, the kudos they deserve. Isaac, you did one thing right, okay? And that was to have a conversation about why you felt certain things were inappropriate. However, what you did not see from the back end is that somebody else was going to utilize your thought process and push and damage those people, just like myself, because you didn't know the whole story. Don't assume that you know what somebody is thinking and jump on them without knowing any of the full story. That's the message that I have about today's episode, folks. I'm going to go ahead and end this down, but yes, there will be future episodes like this. So, Dominic, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm not apologizing to you. because I've done nothing wrong to you except for hold you accountable for your actions, or your inaction to hold those that you hold a position of power over accountable for the things that they have done wrong by chasing people out that they could have given you benefit and given you more money, given you more viewership, given you more opportunities to thrive. And to be honest with you, I have no problems with telling you this. I forgive you for that, but I'm never going to forget what you did. That is a message to you directly. All right, y'all, I'm going to cut this down. Have a good day. Oh, if you see me out there on any more of my shorts, feel free. Like, share it, send it to somebody else. But don't forget, there's going to be more episodes of The Secrets and Lies of Syndicate Empire Radio. I'm Lacey on the mic. Peace.